Hello, you're watching Much Ado About Something, and I'm Donna. Well, today we're going to have a real treat. We're going to make redbud jelly. If you saw my video yesterday, you saw Madeline and I, we harvested these redbuds off of the redbud tree. You see these beautiful redbuds everywhere at this time of the year. But what many people don't know are that the blooms and the pods that come afterwards are edible. But today we're going to focus on these blooms that we picked yesterday. And these are Redbud Jelly. This is a Redbud Jelly recipe. This is a very old recipe, and I hand wrote it out for you so that you can copy it or screenshot it if you need to, if you'd like to make this jelly. It's an unusual jelly, and it makes a good gift for somebody that likes to try different things. I'll be canning my jelly today, but you don't have to can your jelly. You can just make it and put it in the refrigerator. And if you're interested in canning, this is the book to get. This is the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning. And it'll show you how to can jelly. And with these instructions here, this recipe, you can follow the instructions and can your jelly too. But today we're just going to focus on making the jelly itself. As you can see, I've got the redbuds here, the redbud blooms that we picked yesterday, and the recipe says 2 cups of to get a jar, and put 2 cups of redbud flowers in each jar. Now you can just pick just 2 cups if you just want to make a small batch. But I thought if I was going to go to all this trouble, and since redbuds are only in bloom a short time, that I would go ahead and make 2 batches. So you take your 2 cups of redberry blossoms, and you take 2 cups of boiling water, and you pour the 2 cups of boiling water over your 2 cups of redbud blossoms. Since I'm making a double batch, I'll do that twice. And then you just put a lid over it. I shake them up a little bit in there to make sure they're good and down in the water, and you can do that several times because you'll be letting these sit for 24 hours. So we'll put these aside. They'll have to sit for 24 hours. And then when they go to get them out the next morning after they've sat for 24 hours, you'll strain the blossoms off. And the juice from that will be what you'll be making this redbud jelly with. I've strained it off, and I have it in my pot right now. I have a tall pot so that when this thing boils, it doesn't boil over because the sugar gets really hot. My water is my juice is at 220 degrees. I always like to use the thermometer because that just helps you know that what you're doing right. Now we're going to put 2 cups of sugar to each 2 cups of flowers juice that you've made. We have lemon juice, so we'll need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. This is your acid. Since these redbud flowers probably don't have a lot of acid, I'm making 2 batches here, so I'll need 4 tablespoons. But since the flowers don't have a lot of acid in them, like maybe a fruit would, you'll need to add lemon juice, and that'll be your acid. Now you can exchange the water that you put in over the redbuds. You can substitute apple juice for that water if you would like it to have more flavor. But I would suggest just trying it this way at first, just so you'll know how much, what a redbud jelly really tastes like. And then the next batch you make, you can substitute the water for apple juice. Now this has 3 tablespoons of pectin, and since I'm making 2 batches, I'll use 6 tablespoons. You want to put your pectin in the boiling water after your lemon juice. And stir your pectin in pretty good. It helps to stir it as you drop it in because it can clump up on you if you don't keep that stirred up pretty good. I've got this thermometer in here because the jelly-in point is 220, and I like to make sure that I at least get that thermometer up to 220 when I'm boiling any kind of jelly. After you have your pectin in there, you add your sugar. This is 4 cups of sugar since I'm doing a double batch. And after you add your sugar and you want to stir it, you want to make sure you keep that stirred up because it can burn at this point. You want to make sure you keep your sugar moving into that juice and the lemon juice and the pectin. Just stir your sugar in really good. Now it takes a little while for this to heat up. Back up after you've added your sugar, but it won't take long. Be careful with this hot liquid. Just make sure your sugar and your pectin gets mixed up in there really good. And you're going to bring this to a boil and let it boil for 1 full minute. So it's starting to boil again. It shouldn't take it very long because it was boiling at 220 before we added everything. So when this comes up to a hard boil, they call it a hard boil when you stir it. If you stir it and it doesn't go down, it still continues to boil, then that's called a hard boil. So you want to make sure that it comes to a hard boil. I'm just stirring this, making sure this sugar and all this pectin and stuff is sturdy and really combine well in there so that there's no lumps in the jelly. Now the difference between jelly and jam is jam, you leave the whole fruit in. In this case, you would leave the flour in. I have left the flour in and made it jam, and it really makes it look unusual. But today we're making jelly with it, and I think jelly is preferable to give for a gift. All right, now this is at a full rolling boil. And we're going to let that boil for 1 minute. So we'll set the timer. For 1 minute. And we're just going to stir this jelly a little bit while it boils. Now it gels faster because we added the pectin, and I don't add pectin to all of my jellies, but I do add it to this Redbud jelly because I don't think it has enough pectin in the flour to form the jelly like a fruit would. So I always add pectin to this recipe. Well, the minute's up. And so we can now jar this jelly. And we can feel good about it being to a gel point. Now we're going to fill this beautiful jelly into our jars. There is some foam on this jelly. And you can add a little bit of butter to it, then it'll help that foam go away. If you've watched any of my videos before, then you know the foam doesn't really bother me. Now, if you're not going to can your jelly, you can just go right ahead and put this in the refrigerator. Let it cool down a little bit from the boil. This is very hot. But you can go ahead and put it in the refrigerator and put a cap, after you've got a cap on it. And this jelly will be delicious. But if you want to can it, just follow the instructions on the USDA recommendations for jelly. Now be very, very careful with this jelly. It's extremely hot. Now wipe the rims of whatever container you put it in, and there's the jelly. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't that just a beautiful jelly? Yours may vary in degrees of lightness or darkness depending on how much rain you've had and the blossoms that you pick off of your tree, but it should be some kind of shade between pink and lavender, and it seems to get a little darker after you combine it all your ingredients together and cook it for a little bit. Well, that's the beautiful Redbud jelly. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for letting me share this old-timey recipe with you. I hope you want to make it and you enjoy it and it works out good for you.